Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Yanni Root.
And I'm just Harold. You ever been out swearing overheard two people having crazy conversations?
Yeah, well, we are those people. We've been having these conversations since college.
Yep, it's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts podcast, Summer House, Martha's Vineyard, Season 2, Episode 10, and the reunion recap. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
You know, I don't think anybody told me about these storms in Houston. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, once a year, there's something that comes, and once a year you'll have a hurricane threat.
You said once a year. This thing has been once in every week for the last 2 weeks.
I'm sorry,
It's
there's
been
a
like
time frame. Once a year. That could be a week. It could be 2 weeks. But once a year, there's a window.
Everything in Texas is bigger. Once means this period of time. Hey, shout out to Pink Butterfly. Hi, just rude and just terrible. It's really rude and
funny.
just terrible.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, you know what's hilarious? I was on a conference call earlier today, and we were talking about storms. I went to the office, and then we were supposed to have all this wind. It was getting really windy. It's supposed to be this bad storm coming in Austin. So I told my team, I'm like, if y'all want to go work from home, just be on the safe side, because we had a lot of team members that have been impacted by tornadoes. So I rushed to get home thinking I'm beating a storm, and I was worried about being on this tonight. I'm like, it's supposed to be raining, and it's quiet, nice and sunny out. So the weather here changes every minute.
That's how it was supposed to be today. Then all of a sudden, alert, alert, alert. And I look up, I'm like, what? Doing a walkthrough at the Toyota Center, look out the window, I'm like, I've seen this movie before. This does not look good. It's just got dark like that. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I had to pretty much turn my car, convert it into a boat to get back to the house. So, I mean, tis what it is. Michelle says Texas has been getting hit hard with the weather. Yes. And you know who we have to thank for that? Ted Cruz, Governor Abbott, and the rest of you red voting so-and-sos.
Yeah.
The Lord.
Conservatives control the weather.
No, that's the Lord coming back. Like, let me teach y'all a little something. You go respect women. Everything ain't all white.
Maybe God wants to do another Noah's Ark and just clear out Texas and start over.
That's what it feels like. I'm like, damn, I may have moved down here a little too early.
Yeah. I mean, what about us? I didn't vote for any of that stuff. How do I get a pass?
You know what? Let me be quiet because I still have my electricity.
Well, knock on wood. We got a long episodes, 2 episodes to review, so hopefully it stays that way.
Great point. Let me shut the hell up and let's get on. So we're at episode 9. You know, it's interesting because I thought they were going to go to 10 episodes, right? This is the finale for Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. And I actually wrote episode 10 up there, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, it's actually, I did, but
It's episode 9. That's all right. It's all right.
It's okay.
We all make mistakes.
Like,
We fall
mistakes.
down, but we get up.
Mm-hmm. And we can also edit while we're doing this.
In real time.
Real time edit. Make the change. So look, we pick up from where the fallout was the last time, right? Which is Bria, a.k.a. Miss Yell and Scream at everybody and then walks away because Nick called her out and is getting loud. Like, seriously?
Yeah, well, you know, as Bria says, when people get defensive, it's because they're guilty. That's what she told Simon outside. I was like, really? That's what you're going to say? As defensive as she's been all season?
Exactly.
Interesting.
You know, when you have no self-awareness, which is evident, Bria has absolutely none. Absolutely none. And that's
Zero.
Perfect example of that. You know, I put it like this, and I made a note of this too. When Summer's making sense, you know you're on the wrong side of things.
Bria's annoying, though. I mean, it is what it is. There's opportunities for her to try to show herself in more positive light, but she takes the road less traveled by often.
Now, Robin G says, to follow up on what you said about Bria told Simon, it's either that or because they're lying to you when people get defensive, right? That's why they get defensive. Now, Lisa does say Bria must be an executive producer on this show because they brush over her mess all the time. I'm going to get back to this because I disagree. Because they've been pulling her receipts unless she's an ex-executive producer and they're like, oh, really? You want to be on the show instead? Because they've been pulling a lot of receipts on her.
They have, and rightfully so, because she's kind of delusional. There's the way that she sees the world, and then there's what really is happening.
You know, Noel apologized to Nick, and then Nick in turn apologizes to Noel for raising his voice. I know you don't like the apology tour. How'd you feel about this? Was this the right course of action for these two in that moment?
Sure, it was. You know, I think Noelle apologized because the way it all came out, it made it seem like she said more than what was actually said. But then I think when Nick also realized that he was wrong, he admitted it right there in the spot. It's one thing to wait a day or two later, like Summer, and be like, hey, remember the other day when I was yelling at you? My bad. You know, in the moment, you did it. And I think that's fair.
So while they're having this apology roundtable, not the tour, but just a roundtable, Alex goes upstairs because, you know, that's what a good brother does for another brother. Hey, you come down here, you take this tongue lashing like you should. So he goes up and gets Bria. Come back downstairs so that his brother Nick can get his licks in. And the producers, and this is what I'm talking about here, Lisa, the producers pulled all the receipts. Everything Bria said, they said, let me show you something.
Well, I'm glad he did it. I'm surprised. Simon must sleep like a dead person. I mean, he doesn't move, doesn't make any noise. Or maybe they told him, just lay still. This isn't about you right now. Because they didn't want to break out another funny suit. But yeah, I'm glad the producers pulled it out. I'm glad Alex got Bria to come back down and have the conversation. And I think Nick was right. Bria was saying some stuff that made no sense at all. And I think she needed to confront. I wouldn't say confront. She needed to talk to Nick and have that conversation.
Yeah,
but she's still messy.
I thought she is messy. And I think that Nick let her off the hook easily. Right? I mean, we only got to see a piece of it, but if to me it felt like that. But you know, when that got all cleared up, we had to get ready for the most amazing event ever. What do you think of Alex's field of space? I'm just like, this man decided, I'm going to promote my events that I do. And how, because, you know, everybody wants to come on a reality TV and I'm going to show what I do. And he was like, I know how I'm going to do this. I need to plan a party. I'm going to plan one in the name that I do my own. And that's what he did.
Well, this is why I don't click well with creative types, because Alex is feeling that, and in his own mind, he saw something. And yes. I'm watching this, and I know I'd have been bored. I'd have been like, we're doing what now? No. Hard pass. But good for him. He got a chance to showcase his talent on TV. He got a chance to showcase another artist on TV. So I see what he did. It made sense.
Yeah.
But those creatives, for him, this was like going to be great. I think for the viewers, and I think those that sat on the beach painting, it was kind of average.
You mean like Shanice, because she can't twerk, is not feeling the vibe? Nikki B, do you agree with Nikki B here then? Because she says he's fake. Alex is fake woke and a snooze fest.
I wouldn't agree with fake woke. I don't know where that part comes from, but compared to the rest of the cast, is he kind of a snooze fest? Yes, if you compare him to all the other drama. Then yeah, because he's the one that had the least drama this season.
And he does do a good job of trying to stay away from a lot of the drama. As much as they tried to bring it to him this early in the season, especially Summer. She tried it, but so. And like Jay Saso says, yeah, he should have. He should have promoted his business. Everybody tries to, and not do. They don't always show it. This was smart, and it's probably going to change the way people do things from now on.
Yeah, I thought it was a smart move, especially if he's trying to grow his brand. Do what you do. You're into singing and all that. It's just for me, I don't get excited about that stuff as much as creatives would.
Well, Happy Gardner, I'm not quite sure she's a creative too. Because she says it was a vibe. Paint and sip. Why Alex serenaded the group. As Preston said, minimalism is a thing.
Yeah, but you're my boy, and if you could sing, I don't want to sit there and paint while you're serenading the rest of the group.
Yeah, I could have done without him singing. I'm not gonna lie. I get it. That's his thing. Have the artist play the guitar. Let's get that vibe. But yeah, I could have done without him singing.
Wait.
Dollface says, I enjoyed Alex's party. It was a vibe. I like Alex too. So see,
I think Alex is cool
this,
though. I think Alex is cool. So don't get me wrong.
But you see this. You see this though. There are people who actually like. They're like, okay, yeah. Alex gets his. Hey, he's onto something. I wouldn't have done it. But I also can't sing. And Nikki B is saying his singing ruined the vibe. It did not enhance it. I won't say it ruined it, but it didn't enhance it. And I hope he didn't sing the whole time.
It looks like he did. Well, he put on a concert.
And here comes another ad lib. Waves. James Sixo says, I'm sure some of the ladies enjoyed it. And Dollface has a real interesting question. All right, Tell, what would you do? No seafood boil, though. We don't need all that fishy smell around.
Well, options are endless because I'm not paying for it. You know, Bravo is. Yeah, there's a lot of things I'd probably do different on the beach. But it'd probably be something more interactive, more fun. Because some of the games they do, I just think are kind of cheesy. But I'm 49. That's why I'm like, I want to sit around and do that crap. But at their age, maybe it's great.
I mean, have you never done a sip and paint before?
No.
Oh, that's
Would I do a sip and paint? Would I do a sip and paint like on a date? Yes. Would I do a sip and paint while you're on stage singing to me and saying waves? No, I wouldn't do that.
Layla says it's always good to try new things, isn't it? So this has been. You've never done a sip and paint. This was a sip and paint with a serenade. Serenade.
I wouldn't do that sip and paint with that. No, that wouldn't be for me.
And Dollface says, by the way, I know you said Bravo's paying for it. They don't have a big budget yet, at least not for this show. We can tell.
We got the big dinner tomorrow. We've done it. The Freaknik took a hit on our budget. So, Alex, what can you do with $20?
Because Nick's tattoos took up the other part of your budget. Oh, man. Well, look. After the sip and paint, and maybe this is the reason why, but we realized that summer was over. And when I say summer, I mean the woman, Summer. She was out. She's like, you know what? Look, she pulled Preston and Jordan up to talking, and she was like, look, I know we only have 2 days left, but I'm not happy, and I want to leave.
Good for her that she made that choice for herself and for her own mental health. But also, I think she picked up on the vibe that everybody wasn't liking her. I mean, she was stuck to just Preston. And that's not anything negative about Preston, but that's what she was down to, was just Preston, because Jordan really didn't care. You know, Noelle didn't care. So why keep staying? So,
Noelle didn't care so much that when they text, hey, Summer's leaving, you want to come say goodbye? No.
Nope, I'm good.
Right back to sleep. It's fun. It was also funny watching her tell Alex and Jasmine that she's leaving. Alex is like, okay, wish you would have said this day one. Why wait till day 13? And even when she goes to talk to Shanice and Bria, Bria has suggestions for her to cleanse. And Shanice is like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them were done with her at that point.
Yeah.
And so you might as well exit. You know, if that's what you need to do to get home and get yourself back on track, maybe we'll see the reunion if she's changed. But, you know, if she has to go do all that, go ahead and leave.
Mm-hmm. Karen says it's good that she left. Nikki B says Summer used her family life as a mask to hide that she fell hard for Alex. I said that from the beginning. Not about using the family, but we saw this. She fell hard for Alex. And then when he didn't want it anymore, all of a sudden, you little... you know that thing. Women love to do that.
Or maybe the true Summer came out over this season compared to last. Because we were shocked at the beginning of the season, like, where did this Summer come from? Maybe this is who she really is.
So this is interesting. I didn't see this, and I know you probably didn't either, but Naomi says Noel's interview revealed that Summer was actually voted out, which wouldn't surprise me either.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in that it wouldn't surprise me. The only thing is that they decided to leave that mess out of it, and just if that was the case. So I didn't see the interview.
They publicly voted Mariah out. Why didn't they? Why would Summer get a better treatment when Mariah was Jasmine's best friend?
Because, like Naomi said, Summer is a star in a Lifetime movie. Yes, she is. But interesting because even Kitty's like, yeah, that's the way I took it, that she was voted out. It felt like nobody cared that she was leaving. And it was just like, okay, all right, 2 days. Nobody was like, well, girl, why don't you stay? So, could be. Either way.
Could be.
Guys go out. They end up going. It was Nick and Amir going to the golf course. I knew this was going bad when the guy was like, hey, so you got your own clubs? You need some? They're like, yeah, we need some clubs. I said, this ain't going to be good.
Well, not everybody travels with clubs.
No, but here's why I said I knew it wasn't going to be good. Okay, 3 reasons. 1, he said we're going to the driving range. And they showed them on the driving range for a little bit. They also showed them trying to play on the course a little bit, right? And like, okay.
Right.
2, the swings just, they're okay. So I'm not even going to go too deep in that one. Let's just skip to 3. Because 2 was you seeing them actually try to hit the ball. 3 was the golf course they went to. Jesus, that was terrible. If that was the tee box and they've got fake mats, they've got AstroTurf mats in the tee box, that's terrible. That place was trash. They're like, all right, we're going to take you to the worst place possible. This is back to the budget.
You know more. You know more about a golf course than I do, so I have no comment. I don't know. I didn't notice any of that.
Well, it's interesting.
God, people can't box. People can't golf on any of these reality shows when Yanni's watching.
No, Michael did a good job boxing because he knew how to throw those punches. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying, you're on TV. I'm going to say something about it. Look, it's what we do find out at this outing, though, between Nick and Amir, is that Nick did talk to the women the night before, and they put all the blame on Natalie. Like, they put it squarely on her, to the point that even Nick said, so basically I got mad at y'all for nothing.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Natalie ain't been in that house. How is it all on her?
Well, I think they put the whole wanting to tell Tasia stuff on Natalie. Like, they didn't have anything they wanted to tell Tasia, and they weren't really talking about it, from what I understand, that it was a big problem. Natalie was the one saying, hey, I can talk to her about it, and I can tell her and give her the heads up. I think that's what they put on Natalie.
Yeah. That was interesting, though. But the one thing, they get back to the house, and then, Miss doesn't like negativity, doesn't like being defensive. Bria gets into it with Amir. And how she gets into it, because she notices, hey, your energy's a little off. What's going on? And the response is not what she expected. And then, of course, she gets loud with him because that's what she does. And I get her calling Natalie messy is not wrong.
Right.
But she brought that energy. She brought that information to Natalie unnecessarily.
Right.
How do you have no blame in this?
Because she's Bria. That's what she's Teflon. Nothing sticks to her. It's not her fault. But she did call out they was messy. Now Bria was being immature, which I'm not surprised, with that countdown she does from 10 and then calls Nick Urkel. And then, gets mad and screams at Amir. Then Amir turns into a 5-year-old. Stop yelling at me!
To your point, she did call Nick Urkel, But then she goes, and it's your broad. I'm like, what the? Now, Nubia Mahogany's defending it, talking about that's just girl talk. She's not one of the girls. They didn't even like her. So you can't tell me that was just girl talk. Nubia Mahogany, I'm sorry, you can't tell me that. They didn't like her. They didn't want to talk to her. But as soon as she gets outside in the hammock, something about the sway, all of a sudden they're going to tell her all the business in the house. Seriously? Is that what we're going with?
They bonded over a hammock. It does that to you. It gets
waves.
Yeah, waves.
But here's interesting, because Keely does point this out. We never heard them tell her not to say anything.
True. But I think, they shouldn't have told her anything at all. But even Natalie, if you're sitting there hearing girl talk, it's not up to you to go, you want me to go tell her? I'll go tell her. I'll go tell her what you want me to bring it up? I don't mind bringing it up. She was
Natalie's
trying to put herself into that. Huh?
She's above all of them. She goes, I'm going to steal some screen time. Let me tell her.
Let me show y'all how this is done. In my neighborhood, we just address things directly.
Yo, interesting thing about this, we see a couple things. I never noticed that Bria and Milo look so much alike, first of all.
Don't make me spit my water out.
It was at this moment I realized that, damn, they're actually twins. When they say owners and pets look alike, I was like, damn. But two questions. One, why was Milo in the pool?
Because a lot of people let their dogs get in the pool.
Get your dog out my damn pool.
The chlorine's in it.
I don't give a damn.
You're in it. Do you take
don't
a shower
give a damn.
before you get into a pool?
Does the dog ever?
Then ask that. I says, do you take a shower before you get into the pool?
Yes, I take a shower.
Lies.
No,
We went
I
to
do.
St. Kitts. You
Yes.
didn't shower before you got in water. Stop it.
No, I took a shower. If I took a shower the night before, when I woke up, I took a shower before I got in the pool. And Nikki agrees with me. They do look alike. And that's probably why she's like, well, it's fine. He can come in the pool with me. But why is he in the pool? I don't want the dog here in the pool. I'm sorry.
You just don't like dogs. It doesn't matter.
No, you're right. I don't. But still.
Right.
And Happy Gardner says, yes, people look like their dogs. Yeah, they look way too much alike, though. Nubia Mahogany, at least we agree on this one. She says, I thought I was the only one that saw it. Nope. Now, Sanal is with you, Terrell. I mean, a lot of men with dirty booties hop in pools all the time. All right, now don't act like it's only the fellas, because
It's only you?
Okay, but look, the second question I have, and it's, why did Nick help Bria look for Milo? That's my second question, because way better than me. I never would have. Oh, Milo's missing? Okay.
I don't know. I left the gate open. He got out? Oh, man. That's crazy.
I was signaling the hawk.
Yeah. Maybe your frat brother's just a gentleman, and
Apparently.
that's just what he does. Mm-hmm. Or the producers are like, get your butt up and help us look for this dang dog.
I will say this is a very somewhat forgiving group of people, at least while they're there for the 15 days, because they're getting arguments to get over it. They keep moving, right? But the way, as nasty as she has been, there's a point and there's a limit. And that would have been it, because I would have sat there and just watched her look for him. And we saw Milo go out the gate. The production crew didn't give two shits. They didn't look. They just let him go. But you notice how he just showed up and everything was fine.
Yeah, because the producers found him. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, Bria's losing her mind. We're running out of sunlight. We got to get some more film. Bring the dog out. Let's go.
Bring the dog back.
Yeah.
There was a conversation that was had here with Bria and the girls. They're having some girl talk, and she's saying that Simon is not her soulmate, but she knows who he is. He's in Tribeca. And then she's like, "Wait a minute, are y'all gonna put this in?" When she's in in the confessional, I was like, "All right." Is this a thing? I mean, because she's like, "Yeah, I'll probably marry Simon, but he's not my soulmate."
I would assume. Well, let's back up. Is it a thing that people marry someone that's not their soulmate? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it believable that Bria would marry Simon, who's not her soulmate? If you take away the money he has, no, she wouldn't. But why would you say that on TV? is the thing. Why would you say it on camera? And here's the funny thing. When I was taking notes, I was like, man, that's best up to Simon. I thought about it. I'm like, I bet Simon doesn't even care.
No. After all, he's into indigenous people.
Right. He has his little slice of chocolate, and he's all right. They got a little German chocolate baby, and that's what he wants.
Now, Happy Garden says everyone likes Milo more than Bria. I wonder if Simon feels the same way, too. Because I really haven't seen him do anything with Milo. You haven't seen him hug up on Milo or any of that stuff. He's just like, yeah, keep moving.
He drinks, parties, and sleeps.
Yeah.
That's all you see him doing on film.
That's facts. Last thing they had before it's time to go home, it's Jasmine's. It's Jasmine's
Connect
dinner.
and Reflect dinner.
Connect and Reflect dinner on the beach. What'd you think of this one?
Well, this is what annoys me about Jasmine.
Oh boy.
Everything has to be like a big deal or production, and that would be annoying. I knew someone like that always had some type of event, and everybody had to be like this, and you had to dress like this, and there's this expectation, we're going to play this game at 6:15, then at 6:43, we're all going to do this, and that's what Jasmine reminds me of, that person. So that's why I was just like, ugh.
Yeah. You didn't like the fact that she switched up the seating? I like that. Like, everybody's usually sitting with each other. You didn't like that? Okay.
No, let people be. You're going to be able to hear each other around the table. So it's not like it's long, round table of the nights. I mean, you're going to be sitting right there. It doesn't matter. But just the fact you got to be that extra with it, to purposely put people side by side who you knew had beef throughout the summer, it's just unnecessary.
Okay, best part of this dinner was what for you?
I think the impressions part was kind of funny.
Okay.
Depending on who did it. Amir's impression of Shanice was pretty spot on. Alex's impression of Preston was pretty spot on.
Yep.
So some of those were kind of
Bria
funny.
of Jordan was actually hilarious with no words. That was actually amazing.
True, because that was Jordan most of the summer, quiet. But some of the reflections they had, I mean, it was a couple people apologized, but it was still kind of like, whatever. I like Jordan. I'm not sorry for anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not apologizing anymore. That's what she said.
Jordan's like, I'm here for the check. This is the last season I'm doing. Unless you, never mind, I'll leave that part out.
Yeah.
Let me leave
Don't
it
do
alone.
it.
Let me leave
Don't
it
do
alone. So Nikki B says Jasmine is a fake Stepford wife holding on to the coverage of Silas. And Naomi says Jasmine was mad no one wanted to sit next to her, which is why she switched up the seating. Man, y'all just got some hate for Jasmine, huh? And Robin G did say, though, I didn't see Jasmine as extra for her dinner. I didn't think it was extra either. The thing that really, the highlight of that dinner for me was when Amir apologized to Bria for raising his voice, and Bria almost killing everybody, making them choke when she's like, yeah, because, I don't like to argue.
Right. Right. Of course you don't. Well, she doesn't. She likes to start stuff and then walk away.
And then walk away.
Right. She starts stuff, pisses people off, and then walks away. So you're right.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to argue, but she likes to start the drama.
Yeah. She definitely does start the drama. She definitely brings the drama. And there was lots of drama at the reunion, right? And I really wanted to get the outfits from the reunion and use it for this as we switch over to the reunion episode. And my computer's acting the ass. So here we are on the reunion, and everybody's wearing pink. Is this what? Is everybody a mean girl here? What was?
Were they all wearing pink? I thought Alex had white.
White, but there was pink in there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know Jordan looked like hers was more red, but there was some pink in there too. Everybody,
maybe they saw the last season of Mavs and were like, "We're gonna do that."
she did, because Alex was wearing pink, white, but then his shoes had the pink in them. Yeah, shades of pink. Yeah. Question: is it me? And Karen does agree. Yeah, they all had pink. Was Andy trying to flirt with Nick early on, and then Amir later on?
No, I just think that's just how Andy talks to everybody. Like any show I've seen him in, it's just who Andy is. I don't think he was flirting with anybody.
Okay. Getting into he went straight into it from the very beginning with the whole Noel, Summer, and Alex, right? Now, Alex says, look, man, I ended things, and Summer's like, no. That's not how it went. You said you wanted to be this. You wanted to be an F-boy, and this is so confusing to listen to because they just kept talking over each other.
Right.
But Summer in this moment fully embraced the villain character and was like, I'm going to double, triple, and quadruple down on this. And that's what she did, especially even with Noel talking about, oh, I told her we slept together.
That whole exchange was just a mess. And I'm glad Alex kind of jumped in on Summer and said, hey, he was asking me the question. So, let me answer it. Appreciate that. And so he said that the last time they hooked up, he said he wasn't feeling her like that or anything more than that. And I tend to believe Alex in what he was saying, especially watching Summer's behavior. But I also like how Noel wasn't going to take any BS, because when Summer was saying that, I told her we hung out, that doesn't mean anything. And for her to even think saying I hung out means that we slept together. I've hung out with a lot of people, haven't slept with them. So like that to me, I'm looking at Summer. I'm like, maybe she's not as bright as I thought she was, because that made no sense to me.
Maybe first base to her means it's a little bit more than.
We should get her on the show. Summer, what is first base to you? Being inside me?
Someone who's been inside me, and I made him so many times.
Well, that's second base. First base is getting inside. Second base is when she does that. I'm curious what third and home run is going to be for Summer.
Well, home run is when she gets to get hers too, because apparently she's pretending like she didn't get hers. So apparently Alex didn't hit any home runs. She only hit, singles and doubles.
Right. Well, and then she tried to call Noel out because Noel was saying, hey, I don't want to be with, if one of my friends slept with somebody, I wouldn't get involved with them. Summer's like, well, you found out and you still pursued him anyway, and trying to throw Noel under the bus.
Here's the funny thing about that. Michelle, by the way, Naomi said, I thought hookup was code for sex, not hangout, right? So
apparently hangout.
Apparently Summer's hangout is it too.
You shake Summer's hand, it's like, oh, we're together now.
If she said, hey, you want to go hang out? You're like, yeah.
No, I want to keep this strictly platonic. I don't even want to be friends. We're good acquaintances. I don't want to hang out.
So here's the thing about this, though. Noelle didn't really go after. I mean, they kind of pushed her to go at him in the club to ask him about that, but that was before she really found out. And Summer's whole thing was, oh, well, you flirted with him throughout the rest of the vacation. Okay, she's like, we all flirted with each other. If she really wanted to go after Alex, she could. He wouldn't have reciprocated anyway, because he saw the drama that was there. But anything she did after that was literally because this girl ain't telling me. You set me up for the... Okay, that means you still like this man, and I'm going to F with you about it. Plain and simple. Because if this was the case, you did this, and you would do the same thing too. Somebody did this to you, you'd be like, oh, really? Okay. Watch how cozy we get. I'm going to make you burn. Just because.
I'm going to make you burn. Yeah.
I know that sounded really bad, didn't
I
it?
did. I was like, Jesus. Wow, it's a little extreme. A little extreme.
Now, Robin
well,
G disagrees with us and says that Noel definitely still took a shot.
She probably did. But regardless, her friend should have told her we had actually slept together, and maybe she wouldn't have. But who knows?
Yeah. My favorite
now-
part of this whole exchange was Alex calling Summer Autumn. Fall back, Autumn.
My favorite part was when Andy was reading the cards of the questions people sent in, asking about Alex being an F boy, and how was he an F boy when he's been respectful to all the ladies, and Summer still tried to say that that's what he said he wanted to be, which I can't imagine Alex looking at Summer going, "Look, I really want to be an F boy, so this relationship's not going to work out." There's nothing about Alex that I've seen in 2 seasons that would make me to believe that he said that, and I thought it was great until he kicked it up a notch and said, "If I wanted to be an F boy, I could have had Noel."
Yeah. That's not the response he should have. What he should have said was, if I wanted to be an F boy, I would have F'd you this season just for the hell of it and left you alone like I did last year.
Right.
That's what I would have done. Because here's the thing. Yeah, dragging Noel like Noel's like, what I do? Why y'all bring me into this? I feel her on that. And here's the interesting thing about this. We know what happened. They don't even have to tell us what happened. We don't have to ask them what happened. We know what happened. The women, even Jordan was like, well, I didn't see a problem with Summer taking a picture of him and sending it to the group because we do it all the time. Yes, except you do it with other people that don't know y'all. And I get that. But you all know each other, for one. And she knows, that's why she snuck the picture.
Right.
Because she knows that's not what he's on. I don't want people in my business.
Right.
Mind your business. And that's all it was. So we know what happened is he said she wanted more. She wanted a relationship. He's like, yeah, just saying, I'm not feeling that.
Well, and I think this is
now
one
he's
of the
an F-boy.
challenges. This is one of the challenges, I think, between men and women in communication. Because for Jordan to say, I don't see the big deal of sneaking a picture and sending it, let someone that she doesn't know or doesn't care for or doesn't want people to know that she's been seen with, sneak a picture of her. It's just something you shouldn't do to anybody.
Right.
But I believe it's because Alex is a dude, he shouldn't be upset about that. But I know a lot of women would be upset about that.
Right.
So you just don't sneak pictures of people and send out. And you did it only because you knew Alex didn't want you to do it.
This from Nikki B says the real question is, why did Jordan tell Nick? Because she's messy as hell.
She's messy
Because
too.
how did Alex find out? Because Nick goes, yo, what you doing hanging out with Summer? He's like,
Yeah.
how you know? Oh, Jordan told me.
She's like, ooh, I'm going to start some shit. Send.
Yeah.
Nick, check this out. Look at your boy.
My second favorite part is when Shanice is like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm not the crazy one anymore.
No, you still are. You're just not the one everybody's talking about right now. But
Right.
you still are.
Amir. Now, Andy, and I always take Andy's shade towards Amir just a little bit with a grain of salt, because it's like he flirts with Amir so much. He did it season 1 when on Watch What Happens Live, and again this time. And then he's like, so, did Natalie really try to cut your D off? And he's like, no, I was telling a joke. And we knew he was saying a joke, but I at least thought it was something she has said to him. Even it's not like he believed it, but he painted her as crazy from the get-go, and I said that.
Well, you did say that. And I said, I'm sure he's just joking. And you were like, no. So that did happen. Check tape. But
Because she may have said it. We know she's not serious about it. She's not Lorena Bobbitt, but he painted her as crazy. That's his fault. He painted her as crazy. So if all we have to go on about this woman that we know nothing about is what he says.
well, Amir's smart. He's not going to mess up the money. I mean, you don't mess up the money, right? He's got a good woman, successful woman, that's apparently more successful than him. He understands his role. He's not going to mess that up. So I get that. I did like how Andy asked Amir if Natalie trusts him. And I don't believe she does. Not to the point she's going to cut his balls off, but for him to be so paranoid, I think in season 9, when Natalie left, he was like, well, now I got to be careful because now Natalie's not here. I got to watch myself. And I believe it's because Natalie doesn't trust any of the women in the house.
Now, interesting thing about that, because they're like, well, hey, and I love that the fact that women called him out. Like, why would you say that all the women in the house wanted you? Why would you say that? And then he zones in on one. Hones in on Shanice and goes, well, remember last season when she said she wanted to sleep with me? And she's like, I wasn't going to do it. And apparently, whenever Shanice says that she wants to sleep with you, that's not her shooting her shot, as she said, according to her theory.
Okay, this is another difference between communication between men and women, because you let me try to tell someone, so-and-so can get it. That's me shooting my shot. If I say I would sleep with so-and-so, that's me shooting my shot. And so for Shanice to say, no, I was just saying that, but I didn't want to do it. I wouldn't shoot my shot at him. Yes, you were. And the way that Shanice behaved season 1, season 2, if Amir wanted to, he probably could have. And she would have loved all the drama that would have came with it.
And the fact that she said, well, I only said that because I was horny. To your point.
Same thing a guy would say.
And then at that moment, damn it, why did I do this? And I only have to say the moment because you know the moment.
I do. You don't say any of that crazy stuff after moments happen. You don't say anything like that after moments happen. You don't go walk down the streets of New York catcalling women after you just got done. You're good.
We find out more about Summer because Andy asked Summer, hey, how you doing? And the tears flowed.
That's her. That's the half of the WWTs coming out.
So the tears only half flowed.
It's like the right side, the right eye. WWT's on the right. So, like prison tears, it's just, that's all that is. So, I get that Summer went through a whole lot. I'm not making fun of that by any means. She's dealing with some stuff in her personal life. The stuff about trying to find her real dad, I get that. But I don't think that she is remorseful for anything that she said or did during season 2. She might be embarrassed for watching it, but I don't think she cared. So I don't really feel anything about how she was crying and acting. I think that's just fake. But she did deal with she has some personal stuff going on. So nothing is funny about that. But I don't buy these tears, those WWTs
so,
I saw.
Andy asked about giving a pass because going through some stuff, right? Or is it? Well, I forget the exact way he put it. What was what he said? He said it about Summer going through things and everybody else.
Well, I think Andy said that everybody goes through things. Everybody's trying to be cool with that. But Alex was the one that said, "But isn't it still possible that even while you're going through some things, to treat people with kindness and decency?" That to me is what we're all dealing with something. Everybody in life is dealing with something, but you don't just start treating people like crap because you got the sads for what's going on in your life. No, that's not fair.
Yeah. Layla says, I didn't buy Summer's rationale for her behavior. Loved Alex's calling her out for it. That was Alex saying, you started with me at the beginning of this vacation. I'm going to end it on this reunion right here.
You're going to get
right now.
You're going to get this smoke.
He wasn't. Yep, exactly. Because Michelle's like, Alex's comment with Summer was right on point. And it's interesting because it's those things that I think they needed to call her out. And he even said it halfway through the season. One of the reasons I was attracted to her last season because she stayed out of the mess.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she's bringing the mess this season, right? So obviously he saw that after the season was over and they were hanging out, and he realized, oh, this girl's messy as hell. And he I'm a distance myself. Because if you're not about the mess, you don't care to be in any of it. Somebody else who wasn't for the mess was Noelle, because when Andy asked about their relationship, Noelle said, look, I'm fine with where me and Summer are right now. Because when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Mm-hmm. And that's where someone's like, but you saw me going through a rough time, so if I didn't tell them, then why would I tell you? And does that excuse her?
No, it doesn't excuse her. Summer was the one that invited Noelle. She brought Noelle into the fold, right? So no,
then
it doesn't
got mad when
excuse
she
how
got
she
that.
treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then treat your friend that way. Your friend that you brought. No. Mm-hmm. Doesn't excuse her at all. And I'm glad that Noelle stuck up for herself and kept that line in the sand. Nope, we're good. We don't have to be friends. I like things the way they are right now.
No, Noelle stuck to that line that women love to use on social media all the time and flipped the script and said, if you can't treat me nice at your worst,
yeah,
you can't be friends with me at your best.
Right. No. You can't. And good for Noelle, because a lot of these people, to me, shouldn't be hanging out anymore. I don't understand why they do, but good for Noelle to say, hey, no, we're cool. We don't need to be friends.
Yep. Now, here's the funny thing. Again, some of this other stuff coming up, they never really were friends. Some I know I met the day prior. But here's the thing about bringing into this thing. It's like even like Nick and Amir. Are they really that close friends? Amir's down there with you. Nick is wherever the hell he is. And could be, but not. And it's in the sense that you bring people in. How does it make sense to bring somebody in? Somebody's got to come in as a friend when you introduce new people. Robin says Summer owes Noelle nothing. This is completely different than what everybody else would say. It's kind of like in that sense. It's still, you bring somebody in. This is when you treat them like, she tried to treat her like shit and then still try to kind of bully her. When she pushed her, then she looks at the other girls who she's now made friends with and say, hey, you happy?
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of wild.
I don't think Summer owes Noelle anything. I would never say that. But
yeah,
I agree with Noelle saying, hey, based on how you treated me throughout this season,
right?
No, we don't need to be cool.
Right. Yep.
She hung out with the roommate. Yeah. She didn't date him. They just hung out.
Yeah. Somebody said earlier, Summer hangs out, Autumn hooks up.
That's her Sasha Fierce. It's when she turns into Autumn.
Hey, hold up. We're not going to slide past that. Y'all better give Terrell some credit. He knows about Sasha Fierce. I'm just saying.
Read between the lines.
I'm trying to stand up for you. Jeez, see? It's a problem with y'all alphas. So, speaking of which, Bria and her love-hate relationship with your favorite alpha, Preston. Why are they friends?
I don't understand that either. Like, why be friends with someone like that? You know, they shade each other. Preston more so than Bria, but I agree with what Preston was saying, is that you're upset over the things that I did on camera, but what about the things I did off camera? And those are that's who he really is, and that's how nice he is to her. I respect that, you know, but I still don't get why they're friends. Especially if you're friends with me and you block me on social media, we don't need to be friends again. If you're going to be that petty, that you're gonna block me, we don't need to follow each other ever.
Oh yeah, no. If you block me, we'll never, ever follow each other again on social, because you'll never find me again. I mean, and the fact is, like, I just think Preston's so done with Bria, but every so often he's got to be nice. You can see he had a mean streak in him at this reunion. I don't know if you saw this, but he had a mean streak, and he had a mean streak for some of the women, and then he was flirting with all the guys. He turned into Andy at some point in the reunion.
I don't know about all that.
Well,
But
I have the
don't-
uncensored extended version on Peacock. Again,
Okay.
apparently.
So there's some things I missed then because I only have Bravo, so I don't have Peacock. So I can't speak to that because that's not what my truth is. That's not what I witnessed. But because I just saw him really, go at it with, Bria, rightfully so, and then Jasmine later. But in this instance, like some of the grievances that they have, it's like all past stuff. And to me, out of all of them, the Preston that I've seen, I would expect him to be the one to be the adult and just kind of move on from it. But he gets right into the drama with him.
He definitely dug in a lot more this time around. Some of the things that did come up though was the whole the soulmate thing, and then even Bria and Simon. What's the big issue with Simon? She says he doesn't listen, but she doesn't think it's a red flag that she doesn't think of him as her soulmate, and the soulmate is an ex. And I'm like, is that really? Who wants to hear that?
Well, it doesn't matter. He's a multimillionaire. She decided to share with the world, and that's why she's with him. If he wasn't, she would be done with Simon a long time ago.
Yeah.
So Bria is pulling in a mirror. She's following the money.
So, because it's interesting, because the rumor was that he was using her for clout because he's always trying to show. You know what? He's got the money. He's got the wild parties that they do, whatever, all the stuff that he does. Even calling her out on the stuff that she's done, embarrassing him in front of his friends. So he's like just returning the favor on national TV. But she's like, well, you've got the money. So, and here's the thing I don't believe. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I am wrong, because she has said this a number of times this season. She cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the house for Simon. We've seen her room. It's nasty as hell. She doesn't pick up jack. Because if you won't do it for yourself, well, then again, I've never had to do it for a multimillionaire either, so.
Yeah. There's nothing about Bria that tells me she cooks and cleans and does all that domesticated stuff. I'm not buying. She wouldn't even clean up the bathroom for Nick's party. All he has to do is clean up the guest bathroom, the small one. She wouldn't even want to do that. So, no, I just don't believe that she does any of that. And again, take away Simon's money, Bria would be out.
Lucy B says they're friends with benefits. Could be, because the benefit is that he's got
to live in.
Yeah, he's got somebody that'll come in, clean the house, cook some food, give him some sex, and put on the French maid outfit whenever he feels like it.
I guess if that's what he gets out of it. More power to him.
Layla says, I've never liked Bria, but I believe what she said about Preston's mixed behavior. Yeah, Preston has kind of shown that too. So, HF says she cleans everything but her room. Somehow, I'm not believing that. I think there are things that are not clean, but I'm going to leave that alone. Jay Say-So says she doesn't do ish. I don't know what Simon sees in her. Indigenous.
Darkness. Chocolate. Look at my. For show and tell, I brought my girlfriend.
And her dog that looks like. All right, never mind. So, Jasmine. It's interesting because I thought Jasmine throughout this season was very docile.
Yeah.
Even though Silas wasn't there, right?
Right.
And probably part of that was because she was pregnant. I don't need to get worked up. I've got this baby. I've got to take care of this baby. And the baby has been born. Cy Jr. is here. And now Mama can release the clauses. She wasn't holding back, man, because she wasn't feeling Jordan's comments from this season. And I feel her, because Jordan, that was shady when she said that about Silas and the baby.
Certain things you don't joke about. Yeah, you and I, we crack jokes, we talk all the time, but I know there's a line I don't cross with you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Jordan and Jasmine know each other well enough that there's a line you don't cross, especially on TV. So I thought that was messed up. But let's just say Jordan was really just joking, and that was her sense of humor that came out. But Jordan seems to still be bothered over season 1 when she was trying to set her up with Amir. And that's what her whole anger is. Because what did Jasmine do to her during season 2?
But see, that lasted through the off season to season 2, and that's the problem. Nikki B says Jasmine was annoying last season. Yes, I said that all last season. Yeah. Jasmine was annoying in that. And she says, I feel Jordan has a legit issue. Is it though? At what point do you let it go? It's done. You cut this woman out. Y'all went on these trips without her. Y'all cut her out of everything. Get over it. At what point are you going to act like an adult and leave it alone?
I agree. Like, if y'all are that close of friends, hash it out after the season 1 episode, because there was no reunion for that. Hash it out and put it behind you, and you move on, because Jasmine was not the Jasmine that she was in season 1.
And she made that point.
I can't see what Jasmine did in this season to really irritate Jordan. I do think that Jordan's the type that she's, when whatever she's dealing with, similar to what Summer was going through, she lashes out to other people, including her friends, or she just sits there with RBF and doesn't say anything.
Sly says Jordan was just jealous. I don't know that she was jealous. I will say, because I brought this up last season too. The fact is, the friend that she knew, the wild child that she knew, was no longer that wild child. Because even, what did Silas say last season? I would call and she's just getting in and she's out. So, and I think Silas is really the reason. She's mad at Silas. She just took it out on Jasmine for not checking Silas. But Jasmine has to protect her relationship at the end of the day.
That's family.
She's married.
That's what you have to do. That's what a family and marriage is.
Yeah. And that's the part she couldn't understand. So I did like what Jasmine said about, look, people change. You met me this way. You think I'm always going to be that way. No, I'm going to change. And you can't tell me Jordan hasn't changed, because Jordan has definitely changed in the way she's been rolling. Just even her, just the hand motions this year, not even really speaking up, but yeah. Here's a great question that popped up as well, too, from Sly. Why was Preston so irritated with Jasmine and his line brother? Because apparently Silas and Preston not on good terms at all.
I don't know. I'm curious to find out what happened with that, but they don't talk. And I think that, and I don't think it was against Jasmine or had anything to do with Jasmine, because Jasmine was expecting loyalty from Preston when it came to everyone else wanting to go on these trips without her. And Preston was like, well, I know they don't like you and you didn't really like them, so why would I intervene and do that? And she says, well, you're my friend. You stood in my wedding. You met these women through me.
So, okay. So 2 things there. Met these women through me, to which Preston had nothing but shade to go with that, right? But let's just go back a little bit. You stood in my wedding.
Right.
Not on her side, obviously, with his line brother, who he's no longer friends with. I guarantee he's no longer friends with him because of the way he treated Jasmine.
Well,
the reason they don't get
Silas
along,
has to take Jasmine's side. That's
he should. Yes.
Right. So he's got to take Jasmine's side and be like, hey, frat, you wrong for what you did. And Preston's like, why am I wrong? It's not my fault that they don't like your wife.
Yeah.
What do you mean me to do about that? Should I not go have fun in Jamaica because these girls that your wife's friends with don't like her all of a sudden? Yeah. So I see both sides of it, but I think that's probably, you're right. That's probably where the whole thing came from. But I'm curious to know what happened with them, because come on, y'all line brothers. You should be able to work it out.
Should be able to. Y'all been through enough.
Right. You should be able to work it out.
You should be able to work it out. So one of the things that was asked was, what did Jasmine do wrong, right? Shanice was quick to say no one was getting along with Jasmine. It's Jordan sticking to this whole thing of she just wasn't seeing the real person. And there are a lot of comments in here about this and saying that maybe it's jealousy, right? Robin saying that Jordan is just a mean girl. Then here's an interesting one that popped up from Nick at Night, who says production reached out to Jordan first. So maybe she's mad the show isn't centered around her. Because the show was centered around Jasmine and Silas.
Well, it was. Mm-hmm. But it was centered around Jasmine and Silas from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So Jordan was never going to be
from the beginning that we
star.
saw it. And that's what we're saying. If Jordan was the first person they reached out to for this show, is that where this comes in from?
But was she the first person to reach out to after Jasmine and Silas said, "Yeah, we want to do this"?
Well, she was the more known of anybody else.
Who do you want in it? Oh, you got to get my friend Jordan.
Besides Wild Shanice, she's probably the most known out of this entire cast, based on her movements around New York, right? So I could see how that would be, but then she doesn't have a storyline to go. There's nobody, which is what Mia is saying. Jordan is envious and doesn't have a man that wants to marry her. Alopecia took her confidence. That's why she was weird with the guys that were interested. I don't know that, here's the thing. I like the fact that she shared her struggle. There were, and nobody's held it against her in this.
Right.
But she's still been a mean girl the entire time. And
you can't hold it against her.
Huh?
You can't hold it against her.
No, you can't. Exactly.
There's nothing those guys could say about that. Well, you're only being this way because that's going to make them lose. You know what I mean? That's going to make them look terrible. So you got to just let it go. And so whenever Jordan would say anything, they just took it. Because what are they supposed to say?
That is true. It's funny because so many people are saying, I'm sorry, but I think Jordan is jealous of Jasmine. And even Happy Gardner saying Jordan isn't good TV, at least not this season. No, she was terrible this season. But she tried to stay out of the mess this season is what it seemed like. Like she's just, I'm going to promote my wigs and that's it, right? And that's all there was to it. The next person on the hot seat was Nick. Handsy Nick. Who said he wasn't a fan of seeing himself being angry and being handsy. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree that he probably saw that and said this was a bad look. Mm-hmm. Once you get a chance to watch back, and I think every person on reality TV that we've spoken to or have met, they've all said that they've seen there's one guy who doesn't care. But they've all said that they've seen some things that they wish they probably would have did differently. And so for Nick to take that and commit to being more mindful of his interactions, and I think Nick sees what people were saying. It's not so much he was handsy. It's you're in a relationship and you're handsy.
But like he said, he didn't do the booty scoop. So, it's not like... And I get where they get... Because they did show some of the stuff where his hand was down on the hip, so you can see where that goes. But come to find out, him and Tasia broke up. He did say part of it was that he did feel he embarrassed her on TV. And some of the stuff that happened on the show was a part of it. But it wasn't the main part of why they broke up. Are you buying that?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all. I think this was the main part of why they broke up, and he just has to own it. Mm-hmm. But maybe this is what they said they would do, and just in case people go interview her, because Nick has a reputation. He's well known in the running community. People know him, right? He has a rep to protect. But maybe they just both agreed to both say it was mutual. But I think all of us realize that, a lot of what Nick was doing and the way it was perceived or came out on TV, we don't blame Tasia.
Okay, so two things. One, because I like Tasia and the way she handled everything when they tried to bring the drama to her. She was like, yeah, nah. I saw production over there talking to you. Get away from me. I'm about to leave. We're not doing this. So, and she kind of stayed, even when she noticed the girls were, I know how these women are. I'm not messing with them. She sees Natalie out there talking to the girls. I'm not getting into that. She rolls out, right? The other part of it, though, I think with Tasia and Nick is they broke up. I think that he is still in the sense of, is it that he did something wrong? Because Amir came at him in that manner. Well, you're looking. Is the looking bad? Or is it because he's in a relationship that looking is bad?
Yes.
Okay, explain.
So, here's how I see it. He's in a relationship. He's with his friends. And his girl knows he's with his friends. So, looking at your friend naked is wrong. Now, is
she wasn't
Shanice
naked,
wrong?
she was dancing.
No, Shanice got butt naked on the slide, the little slip and slide.
Yeah, he wasn't looking at her then.
Yeah. Everybody, I looked. We all were looking, but I don't have a girlfriend, so I can look. But what I'm saying is, if this is your friend, Shanice shouldn't be getting naked in front of her friends, and her friends should check her. I have a lot of female friends. None of them just take the tops off and hang out around me.
Right.
But when you have a girlfriend, the way it looked on TV,
Well, they were friends with
it
benefits.
came out bad. Yeah, it just came out bad. So no, you shouldn't do it, especially if a camera crew is following you. You don't look then.
Okay, so you're saying like what Nubia Mahogany is saying, Nick never did act like he had a girlfriend. I mean, so would it have been better if Tasia was sitting next to him and everybody starts twerking, and he looks at Tasia, look at her ass. Is that better?
Do you think that's better? No,
but
yeah, I'm just at least come up with a better one. I'm like, do you really think that makes sense? That's your whiskey talking. I'm on water. I'm like, what does that make sense?
No, I'm just saying. It's because the argument that Amir made it seem like Nick was always. They tried to make Nick out to be a creep this season. The one party where they were all there and because Nick finally has a woman, he's sitting there like, I don't want to lose my money train, and so he thinks everybody needs to act the same way he does. Nick did not step out of bounds this season or last season. Well, last season,
he didn't step out of bounds, but the thing is, you got to be mindful of the touching. Everybody doesn't always like it. And so every person should be mindful of that. Keep your hands to yourself. Was Nick being handsy? Yes, but was he doing it in an inappropriate way or with intent? No. But you just got to be mindful. Hey, don't touch everybody. It's like President Biden. Don't put your hands on every single girl on the shoulders. You got to be careful about that, right? So there's that piece. And then you got to think that if you're going to talk about Tasia and this relationship I have, because remember season 1, it was all but half the season before we
found out he was in a relationship.
That he had a girlfriend. And so if you have not shamed, you're not trying to hide it, then tell everybody. But then also when you have a girlfriend, and I'm sure she probably expressed some concerns to him and he still acts this way. And then when she went to go visit, what did he do at his party? She's up in the bed, probably waiting on him. He's still downstairs,
It's his party. Stop it. Even you admitted it was his party. He should have been downstairs.
I get it.
Stop it.
But what is that? If you know that she has an issue,
that's the alpha.
Either get her a Red Bull so she can hang with you, or make her run upstairs, come back down, or run upstairs, hang out with her for about 10, 15 minutes.
All right, Amir.
Whatever it takes.
All right, Amir.
And then get dressed and go back downstairs.
All right, Amir. Dollface, look, the women are not even feeling you on this one because even Dollface is like, why would Nick have to leave the party because Shanice gets naked? He wasn't ogling her. Exactly, he wasn't. Layla even said, I hate that the girls never apologized to Nick for all the unnecessary drama, which initiated Natalie's interference in the first place. Yeah, exactly. And Lucy B says, come on now, no man isn't going to not look except Terrell and Amir.
No, there's a look and then there's looking. There's like, oh, breasts. And then there's just like, looking.
That's Lisa has a great point. Did you see how apologetic he was? I know you don't like the apology tour, but you can see that he really felt bad when he spoke with Jordan and Summer.
Yeah. Because he didn't realize what he was doing was wrong to them. He just thought we're all friends, we're all cool. And that's great. And I'm glad that Jordan and Summer were honest with him and they had the conversation about it. Worked. I wish Bria, Noelle, and Shanice could have did the same, but as we've learned through this reunion, people aren't really friends.
Right. Yeah. Now, the whole thing about, and this is the last thing to get through here, was Amir and his girl Natalie, right? Because Nick thought it was strange that Natalie involved herself in the mess. And he's absolutely right. Like, why? Why are you jumping in this? I think I know exactly why. Because I love the fact that Noelle tells Amir that his girl is messy as hell. Andy asked Amir, does Natalie want to be around these people anymore or no? And he's like, well, she'd like a second chance. Season 3 cast member.
Right.
Immediately. We know this is
Right.
happening.
Well, Amir needs to make up his part of the money that covered that house that they bought. Because I bet Natalie had cash. She's like, "Where's your half? I'm gonna need you back on season 3."
And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Which, speaking of the house, Arkan asks, we can't skip over Amir buying a house, but Natalie's on the deed. If she's so rich, why isn't it a joint purchase? He's an idiot. Is he?
We don't know if it's a joint purchase or not, because I'm a believer in I didn't see the books. And just because he said that, it doesn't mean that she didn't help or her name is not on the loan. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Michelle says Natalie's only using Amir to stay on the show and for a place to stay, apparently, because since...
No. Natalie has a place to stay, because I doubt she's going to sell her house to go move in with Amir, who makes what she makes in a year, or she makes in a month, he makes in a year. Yeah, she's not going to sell her house for that.
Yeah. I felt this, Lucy, as well, too, that Natalie's been desperately trying to get on the cast, because that's why she involved herself in all the mess and wanted to make sure, let me get this. And you see Tasia's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing this crap. I'm done with it.
Yep.
So this is going to be interesting, man. Nikki B has some fun words for Amir. We're not going to repeat those, but we'll let you see them if you like.
Yeah.
Lucy B said, Nick being single should make next season more interesting. You think so?
No, yeah, maybe him and Bria are going to hook up.
Now he's the one. Now that would be funny if he's the one that makes her and Simon break up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Look, man, season's over. More drama this year than last year, right? Silas brought the drama last year. The thought was, Silas not there, what's going to happen? Enter Summer. She took the lead as the lead villain. Season 3, you down for it?
Yes. I mean, I'm down for it because I want to see what's going to happen with this group. I want to see if Shanice is going to be any better. And if she comes back in season 3, she's got a job.
There was no change in her.
Yeah, but maybe she'll find some self-respect and self-worth, and maybe she'll be different, and maybe they'll find the right white guy to come on the show to hook up with her. That way she doesn't have to worry about showing it to everybody.
She talked about the fact that she hooking up with the high-profile guys, and it's just to hook up. It's not for a relationship, so she's not a gold digger. So.
She's just hanging out. Yeah, she's just hanging out with him. That's
no,
all
that's Summer. Hanging out in front of Jordan's place of residence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, we lose a show. We still have never ever met. We've got our random thoughts. You did make a statement yesterday.
I did.
And I just want to point out, there's a new season overseas that just started. It's only 3 episodes in. We can catch up and do the first 3 episodes, then do the 4th next week. And go to something you said you'd never do, kind of like what we did with Ready to Love. You said you won't do Never Ever Met season 2, but you'll do 90 Day Fiancé. How about 90 Day UK?
Fine. I'll do that because I'm never doing Never Ever Met. I don't care who's on. Never doing that again. And I need a good palate cleanser between this summer house mess and what I have with Never Ever Met. So I will do 90 Day Fiancé UK. We can get caught up on that. Let's see what happens.
I just love the fact that you have not learned. Don't ever say, I'll never do. You haven't learned that yet. The one, Sanan's fan says, no ultimatum, South Africa. The show is over. So the problem with that is, and if we were ever to do that, we'd have to do it probably and do it as on a members only thing. If we ever decide to do the membership, it's one of the things that it's over. People have already done it. It's like, okay, we'd rather do it a longer time with you. And we were a little behind on this one, so sorry.
Yeah. It's all right.
So Michelle wants to make sure she heard you correctly. She says, wait, so what's next on the agenda? We still got Never Ever Mets because we're only 6 episodes in. So we still have that.
Yep. And 90 Day Fiancé UK.
90 Day Fiancé UK.
Yeah.
All right. It's locked in.
All right. Let's get it over with.
All right. I'm Yanni Rude.
And I'm Just Terrell.
Make sure you follow us at Yanni Rude, at Just Terrell, and at RGRT Pod.
Yeah, send us some of your random thoughts, some of the bullshit from the internet. We'll talk about it on the show.
It's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.